Um, so if we end up with anything usable on this, we'll just do, let's explain what we're doing. Woofy and Forrest, we were here, we're going to talk about the movie, but Rick isn't here, so we're just going to talk about Transformers stuff. And right
Yeah,
now,
we're shy at cast member. It's true.
there you go.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
So yeah, and I was talking about this comic, this Void Rivals, or Forrest was talking about it. I was looking into it. Um, how about you, Wolfie? Have you read any of the Void Rival, or just in
I
general?
have read the most Transformers comic that I have read up to this point involves Death's Head or Death's Head 2 inside of Marvel Comics and completely separate from anything to do with Transformers.
Oh,
Aside from the panels I've looked at that Forrest has shared with us, which were, yeah, it didn't stick in my head for very long because I didn't have the context and I hadn't actively, read the things to like get it in my head.
right.
So I remember some of the artwork and the styles and stuff. And Forrest and I, we both like what's being done with that current line of comics.
Hmm.
But that is, and so I remember some of the stuff that you've told me, Forrest, about like what's going on in some of those comic lines and whatnot. But yeah, it's I'm gonna have to read more deeply into it. I do know a lot about how storylines and stuff and comics get handled and how there are one shots and stuff like that. And a lot of times, even if something is continuity, it could be retconned, for whatever reason very quickly. So
Hmm.
there is no one true anything in comic books most of the time.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Um, just yeah, from everything Forrest was saying.
I was just saying, like, yeah, don't try to bring up any of those Lost Light comics to Rick, like you're talking canon. 'Cause he will just shoot you down and be like, stop asking me questions.
Oh, so anyway, what I was about to say anyway was like what's the deal with the reading orders? Like so okay, like that post is like, is this a good reading order for more than meets the eye, right? Like why isn't the reading order just the more than meets the eye comics and that's it and nothing else?
Because it crosses over to a bunch of different books. Things are just set up like around in other comics. Some stuff isn't chronologically released.
Okay.
Usually people will like ask for a reading order just to.
Or there's stuff so like with this more than meets the eye, like you can read all the more than meets the eye, but it still won't tell you everything you it won't give you all the story. Like all the little plot holes will be filled in by these other things.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Okay.
like there's going to be crossover comics and stuff. Like it'll more than a few times it crosses over with, I think, oh, I think Robots in Disguise is running at that point too. So it crosses over with that too, and like Titans Return and stuff. Um, and they got big events and stuff throughout that Lost Light reading order and stuff. The same thing with Energon too, like because the Energon stuff, I guess it's easier to follow because you're really just reading like in release order, but it's still shit like five different books. Like you have Void Rivals, it's where it all starts, which
Uh-huh.
technically you're supposed to read first without realizing that it's a Transformer thing, and then you're supposed to be like, oh my God, there's a Transformer.
Okay. Yeah, so I read.
Um,
I'm like I'm the first few pages into that first Void Rivals just now. Um, yeah, I like it so far. Um, but yeah, no, I wouldn't know this was a Transformers thing if I didn't know.
yeah, and a lot of these Energon comics are the whole line is being pushed by Robert Kirkman, the guy that did Invincible and Walking Dead. He's writing Void Rivals. I think they got like Daniel Warren Johnson writing and drawing Transformers. I'm not sure who's on Duke and Cobra Commander, and I think Scarlet's one of them.
See, I was thinking like so a comic that came out in like 1991 is you'll have that and that'll have some story, but then
Oh,
something will come out in 2023 that fills in holes for that 1991.
um,
You know what
well,
I'm saying? But it's a different
so,
thing.
yeah,
But it's
like
maybe
with
not
like
even.
Marvel comics or like DC, like with like the big tentpole guys, yeah, you'll get stuff like that. But like Transformers, that's a property that changes hands so many times. Like IDW had the rights from 2005 to 2000, I want to say 19, and
Hmm.
then it went over to Image. That's who's publishing it now. But yeah, it's all in like different continuities.
Okay.
Those Marvel comics from like the 80s and 90s aren't going to cross over into those Lost Light ones. Those Lost Light ones have a different history and everything than the Energon ones. Hell, the Lost Light stuff, the IDW stuff, it introduces a lot of stuff you don't see anywhere else in the Transformers stuff, like the concept of like one percenters, Cybertronians that are like in the IDW stuff, Cybertronians, they're some of them are born,
Hmm.
um, and a lot of them are MTOs, which are made to order uh, bots that were just made for war and sometimes even activated in the middle of dropping into the battlefield and stuff.
I'm
Those
looking
Energon
through it,
universe books, because it
right now. Trying to like speed read through it
because they are
because
going for a very like they're very much doing their own thing, but they're also very much like hitting the G1 nostalgia button. Like you'll have Optimus doing a big crazy takedown of Devastator and in the background you'll just see the words, you know the song,
hmm.
because you know the song that's playing.
Hmm. Do you know when like the first comics came out? Like, was it in the 80s or was it way later?
No, it was definitely like around the same time as the
Like,
show, because I remember Hugh saying um that in England most of the context he had for some of those characters going into the movie was the comic.
I'm just wondering, like, how much, like, what the old ones were like, if
Oh,
because
yeah,
these
no,
ones are like clearly more geared for an adult audience.
84 to 92.
I would recommend reading them after we're done recording.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Um,
So it's just I feel like we should it's we don't have a subject or I mean we could still talk about the movie I guess but just to do it but that the
Jake,
only
how
thing
did you
is
feel? How did you feel about the movie?
I liked
Just,
it.
just get into it.
It
Let's
was
just do
fun.
it.
It was fun. It was like I was impressed right off the bat by all the big names in the thing, you know. Uh You got
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy,
Leonard
Orson
Nimoy,
Welles,
Orson Welles, Robert
Robert
Stack.
Unsolved Mystery Stack.
Oh, I always
Yes,
forget about Robert Stack's being in there.
and he was damn good
It's
too.
so
Judd Nelson
surprising.
is Hot Rod, Rodimus Prime.
Oh yeah. And then who was Unicron?
That was
That's
Orson
Orson
Welles.
Welles.
Okay. Damn,
Yeah.
no,
The Sabbath.
yeah, those it was a lot of big names. Um, so yeah, that was impressive. But yeah, right, it's fun right away. Like it's super 80s. It's definitely of its time. Uh, with that song playing, and
Yeah, with that song playing and its heavy plot and character themes taken from a popular space movie that was released around the same time period.
I don't
Which,
know.
which space movie could that be?
I don't know. Let's just talk about hot Rodimus Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on. But yeah, okay, and the movie came out after the cartoon, right?
In the
Yeah.
middle of the cartoon. It came out
Yeah.
after
Okay.
season 2 of the cartoon. Um, kill, killed off the big main character. Everyone you love dies within 20
Yeah,
minutes,
and I
and then
know,
you're stuck with these other freaks.
like, yeah, and I know, and again, I've seen this movie before, but like, not, I guess not really, because I didn't really like, I don't remember it or I didn't pay attention or whatever. But eh, yeah, like I was aware in the back of my head, like, because I've at the very least heard you guys talk about how Optimus Prime dies in the movie, but still seeing it when it happens, it's like Jesus Christ, the movie just started. He's dead. What the fuck is this?
The movie just started. It starts out so cool too. You get that bit.
Yeah.
One shall stand, one
What
shall
show?
fall. He finally uses the axe that he uses no other
Was pretty
time,
sweet.
really. He uses that axe that he uses like 3 times versus that. Oh no, the mace, the Energon mace that Megatron uses. That's not from the movie. That's like from the first couple episodes of the show, I think.
I do like
Like,
they have weapons that they'll never manifest, and it's like a cool power that must cost too much on the budget.
yeah, it costs too many energy points or whatever. You have to build those up
Oh,
by blocking or something. I don't know.
I'm not giving them an in canon reason to not be doing that stuff all the time. That's ridiculous.
I want to say my favorite thing about it though was has to be uh, Junkion, and again that was I've talked about it a bunch, but we weren't recording. Like that's the one thing that I remember from the movie, and it's always fun. And you get that cool, you get Weird Al. Weird Al shows up. What? Uh,
No, actually, you just get a Weird Al song.
well, that's what I
You get
mean.
Eric Idle playing a
Yeah.
character that Weird Al will go on to play, though.
Oh, does
Yeah.
he? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I meant was the
Weird Al
song. But
plays
yeah,
Eric Idle's character in Transformers Animated.
no
Yeah,
shit.
Wreck-Gar.
Yeah,
And he is a motorcycle with big nipples.
I think
big,
Rekgar's the one.
big, big nipples.
He was talking about the human germ. He called someone a human germ. There's a human there, but like all their shit is based on shitty Earth TV. It's just
You
a
talk
chunk.
TV? We talk TV good. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. Like
It
that's
makes
what.
no damn sense.
No,
Oh, I
and
I
then
think
you
I've
get
tried to figure out how you have a group of isolated Transformers that just get fucking like
Well,
just get
actually,
American television commercials, and that's how they
there's a
speak?
theory about where they came from, because it's
Is there?
yeah, if
Okay.
you look at Cybertron, there's that big chunk missing from it.
Hmm.
So some people just think that the planet Junkion is just a floating piece of Cybertron that's out there. And they would have some. It makes sense that they would have some like Cybertronian wildlife and robots in there. And ooh,
Ooh, hey,
Yeah,
check it out.
they'd have some satellites and shit to get that with. What's up, Rick? Hell yeah.
Rick.
Okay, well, we started talking about the movie anyway, so thank God you're here because we were
He
like, fuck.
would he
I was like,
would come in at the bottom.
we'll add Rick in. No, because I know Rick has thoughts about this movie, and that's why, yeah, I I know he does. He does. He can't not. Uh, so anyway, sorry. Hi, Rick. Welcome. May not be able to answer the thing,
Maybe.
but or he's probably maybe in the car still. But anyway,
Well, you don't hear me?
oh, there we are.
There he is.
Now I hear you.
Oh,
There
okay.
he is.
Oh, hey. Yeah, what movie are we talking about?
What movie do you think we're talking about? We're talking
Transformers
about
1.
the movie.
No, not this time. The Transformers, the movie from
Oh, the first.
1986.
You mean the Transformers #1? Is that what we mean?
Yeah, if you want to
Also,
call it that.
talking about the comics.
The Transformers, the
Yes.
franchise, the movie, the copyright.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. It's a movie that I watched when it was new, and I have watched many times, and it's revered in the lore, but it's not very good. I mean, if we're going to be honest.
It's pretty fun
Oh.
You stop.
though.
It's very good. You just have to take out the dance number.
Wait, is that the dance number with the Junkions?
You just have to take out the dance number.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, what about
And
what about how they
everything with
that's
Daniel,
probably the best parts.
and you have to get rid of Blur
and how
and
and Springer
Wheelie.
seems
You
sort
have
of
to get rid of Wheelie. Springer's
Yeah.
great though. I love Springer.
well, he's sort of
Sure.
superfluous. It's like, are we supposed to root for fucking Ultra Magnus or Hot
Mhm.
Rod, or are we
Yeah.
supposed to root for Springer? Who the fuck are we supposed to root for?
You want
Yeah.
to talk about superfluous? What about Blitzwing? He shows up as a jet, turns into a guy, turns into a tank, and then immediately gets fucked up, and you never see him again.
Hey, you know what? There's
Yep.
the true hero of the movie is Cup, and I think we all can agree on
Oh,
that.
Cup is great. The
Yeah.
greatest. I
don't
can't
remember
wait
what Cup does.
for Jake
Oh, he
to
saves a bunch
to
of people,
read about
doesn't
Cup.
he? Does Cup the one that ends up fixing somebody with Energon just lying around? Nobody remember
Those are
what
the
I'm talking about?
Junkions. I think that's
In
the
the-
Junkions you're thinking of.
In the Sharkticon pit, somebody gets messed up and
Oh,
they have to seal him.
I know Ultra Magnus gets messed up there, and is it not Hot Rod that fixes him up?
Yeah, Hot Rod fixes Cup up when they land in the Robo Shark water.
Oh, Cup's the one. That gets
Okay.
hurt. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, there's the fucked up part in the movie where, so you hear Cup say like, "You even fixed a nasty burr in my road." He says, "Damn it, Hot Rod, you left a part out," and he's like, "No, I didn't." And then Cup's like, "Well, you fixed a nasty burr in my rotator." But what was gonna happen later on is like, because Hot Rod quote unquote left a part out, like Cup now has like a double jointed elbow that was supposed to save them in a certain scenario that then got written out of the movie. So that dialogue exists, but it doesn't work for anything else. It's just dumb dialogue that got left in the movie.
oh, that's interesting.
Well, that seems
You
fine.
see that? Hot Rod's the best, and he's the chosen one, and even his mistakes.
Yeah, I've watched this movie a lot, and all I ever think of is, man, Hasbro just didn't understand their franchise at all.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a little like lacking
they-
in direction overall. Like it was a little all over the place, but
They killed the main star.
In 25 minutes.
oh yeah,
I
we
think-
talked.
25-minute mark. He's dead.
Now, hang
Yeah,
on.
Also, like
I
it's
think
very
that can
obvious
work.
to them. It's
It's
very
not the way
obvious
that-
to me that the movie was animated in order because the budget goes from pretty damn beautiful at the beginning to not looking all that great by the end of the fucking movie.
Oh, I don't. It looked pretty good at the end, but it never really tops that last Megatron and Optimus fight where he's flipping over people, doing the pose.
They set
And
the
like
expectations too high at the beginning.
this
And
the scene where
nowhere to go.
Unicron eats
Mm.
the scene where Unicron eats Lithone is like there's all these little pieces on the screen. They're animated.
Oh,
There's a lot of moving parts, and the movie never gets that detailed again. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, even the first time you see like Unicron talking on the inside, his internals are moving.
That was really cool too.
And they look
Yeah,
like bio-organic. And then
I really got that.
by the time Hot Rod and Galvatron are fighting on the inside of Unicron, everything's just, whoops,
I always
we blew our
liked
budget.
I
They
always
do
liked
have
how
some-
when they are. Oh, go ahead, Wolfie.
Oh, I was gonna say they do have some detailed shots inside of Unicron, if I remember correctly. Like when you find out that he's like breaking down Cybertronians.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
live.
yeah, I like
And
that. And I like that
that-
there's water running around inside, like from all the planets he's eating and shit.
Those look
Mhm.
good. It's just that it's so inconsistently applied. That you're just like, oh, well, now
So
we're
they
back to
spent-
regular show shit, and then there's times where it's a full-on movie and it just flits back and forth.
Yeah.
So they spent $6 million, 1985 money on this fucking movie.
That's
And
a-
I mean,
It's like $7 jillion in Biden
it's a
money.
lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty good money for this movie, but I think a lot of it went to the all-star cast. I'm sure that Orson
Mhm. Oh,
Welles
yeah.
didn't come cheap. He was like,
Oh,
I'll,
no.
I'll play your robot demon."
I was
And
gonna
wonder-
mention-
Orson Welles and Leonard were like half the budget for sure.
I was going to mention this earlier, but I do think it's really, really funny that they pay Orson Welles to do this voice, and then they modify it a lot to sound just like Tony J
Yeah, it wasn't
From-
super
from-
recognizable.
from the Soul Reaver franchise. This is literally just the voice that this guy does without any extra stuff on it. It's that
Mhm.
same. He's
and
the supreme
rumors
being in
persist.
Time Bandits. If you need another reference,
Rumors
It's pop
persist
culture.
that Leonard Nimoy did some fill-in work for Orson Welles. I don't
Huh.
know if it's ever been confirmed, but
Okay.
some of the Unicron lines might be Leonard Nimoy.
Does kind of work. I mean, it is Unicron who upgraded Galvatron, so and he's in a little bit of control. So yeah, I guess sure,
Yeah.
sure they can sound alike. And then when he breaks Unicron's control, hey, whoa, suddenly they don't share potentially part of a voice actor
Mhm.
because they can't afford Leonard Nimoy for the TV show.
Oh, that's who
definitely-
else. He's Megabyte in Reboot too, Forrest.
Oh,
Still
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I like a lot of like Starscream's death is really good in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And there's fun stuff in it. There's the weirdly out of place swearing in the movie.
Oh
That I
yeah,
sort of
there's
love.
like, what the shit are we gonna do now? Or what?
Yeah, like, oh fuck, holy fucking shit, Batman! Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucking crazy.
Damn
Yeah,
it, open.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure back in '86 when my dad had took me to this movie,
Oh my
he's
God.
bored out of it. He was bored out of his fucking mind until that one point. Then he just looks over at me like, "What the fuck have you brought me to, son?"
I think so. I like just thinking on it right now. My brain went, what's funny is it seems kind of like it was a bunch of guys who'd been working on like a kids' TV show for a while and then finally got the reins let off and they didn't know what to do entirely.
No,
Like
they purposely added the swearing. They didn't want the movie to be rated G because then it would play during matinee times, and they were trying to go for like a teenage audience.
Oh, okay.
So they threw a minimum number of swears in it to get a PG rating in hopes that
Okay.
it would play in like evening slots and teenagers, stoned teenagers would go see it or something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They didn't.
Don't
They did not
think.
give a fuck.
Yeah,
They didn't until
so they
40
became
years later.
stoned adults. Yeah,
Yeah, a bunch of stoned adults went and did it. Yeah,
but the
I did the Iggy.
So, what did you think about or earlier before you got here, Rick? We were talking about Junkie on the Junk Planet and all that shit, and the Weird Al song. Did you love the Weird Al song when you were a kid?
No, no, honestly, no. I've owned the soundtrack a few times, and it's this rockin' soundtrack of '80s metal, and
Yeah,
then like
and the Weird
two
Al.
thirds of the way, 2/3 of the way through it, you get Weird Al, which is simultaneously the most famous song on the soundtrack and the most misplaced.
Yeah, it's really like I had to kind of like was daydreaming a little bit, and then that song started. I'm like, oh Jesus, it jostled me
Oh
right
shit!
out of it.
But
Uh,
I like that. I kind of like that the planet from out when you look at it from off planet, it's not a planet at all. It's just
mhm.
like the third top of a planet. It's pretty wild
Yeah,
design.
it looks like a
Yeah,
yeah.
as if it's the chunk of as if it's that big chunk that's
Oh yeah.
missing out of Cybertron over there.
What do you think about that, Rick? That theory?
I've never
Well,
heard that theory before. That's a pretty good idea for us. But like the Junkyards, like they're not some weird like offshoot race. They were just trapped on this piece of Cybertron that broke off and drifted off into space.
and I like yeah, the voices are fun. They're the Jesus. Who's the main guy again?
Hot Rod?
No, the main junkie on guy.
Oh,
Oh, Eric Idle
Wreck-Gar.
plays him. Yeah, Retgar. Yeah.
Rick Carr. Yeah, Eric Idle. Yeah, yeah. Which
Yeah.
Eric Idle is always fun, but like also he has a good like effect on his voice.
Oh yeah,
It
I don't think it sounds anything like him really, but
makes it almost impossible for me to understand what he's saying without sitting there for a second.
It requires
Like I think, and
subtitles.
of the things that I would identify as mistakes, Eric Idle having an effect on his voice might be one, or at least that effect.
Okay.
Because it sounds like they were trying to do something different, but it just kind of garbles his speech.
Yeah.
And it is unique sounding, but it's like just
Uh-huh.
maybe 15% less, and it would
Yeah.
be a little bit better. But that
Leonard
could also
Nimoy
be
comes
a
through.
tech problem.
Nimoy comes through almost unaltered. He sounds pretty much like he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Judd Nelson, who plays Hot Rod, like he's only famous in 1985 when they're recording this. Like nobody knows he everybody they made him Hot Rod thinking this is going to be a huge Hollywood star. This is going to help put
Yeah.
and like nobody gives a shit about Judd Nelson by 1987. Like,
That's what I wonder if like all this all the money they spent on the big names was wasted at the
it
time.
was it was a unique new idea from animation. It really hadn't been done in animated movies before. It was done by Hasbro to help entice parents. They'd be like, "Oh shit, I got to
Mhm.
take my kid to this stupid toy movie." Well, at least there's some actors I recognize and doing voices. And
Mhm.
Disney would basically rip this idea off for their Renaissance period and use with like Robin Williams. That wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened without the Transformers the movie hiring big name stars.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that's what I was thinking when this was starting. Is yeah, that's still the trick now. Is you make a kids movie, you got to put some
Yeah, you got
actors,
to get The
adults in there.
Rock in there or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
They did it again, and it worked.
Oh yeah. Well, Transformers One is so much the best Transformers movie they've ever made. Like, there's all this nostalgia for the Transformers the movie, and I mean, I've watched it a million times. I can recite it in my sleep. But no, Transformers One is a good fucking movie all the way through.
Yeah.
This is
Oh yeah.
the Transformers the movie is like it's not even a good movie for Transformers fans because it kills your favorite character off. Like, it's a
yeah.
bad movie. It's a bad fucking movie.
I'm
No,
okay.
it's a
I'm okay.
fun, cool movie.
See, we just have a disagreement
And
about like
Optimus
what makes a
probably
movie
gets
good,
better.
right?
Well, would you
So
agree that Transformers One is a better movie?
I would agree that it is more in line with a like movie that is meant to do what it does, which is not what the Transformers the movie does. Which is,
Well,
it's trying to carry it into a different era entirely, which is fueled by the need to start a new toy line,
yep,
which they could have
exactly.
done. They could have done without killing any characters.
But that's just it.
Um,
It's like when they
but
made
I,
the Transformers the movie, they didn't know what to do with their property. By the time they got to Transformers One, they know what to do with the property.
yeah, I do think that the spoiler alert for Transformers One,
mhm,
everybody. I do think that what they do with Orion Pax dying to become Optimus Prime is a better take on having that character die for people that are new to it.
mhm,
In the context that Transformers is just a kids show, killing Optimus Prime is a really big risk. But it's done unbelievably well, and they do a good job of passing the torch and making it a whole thing.
mhm.
I
Um,
definitely don't like how it's become a trope that if you have an Optimus Prime somewhere along your movie's franchise, he's got a fucking croak.
Because of that.
well,
Yeah.
this time in Transformers 1, he dies to become Optimus Prime, which is a different thing. It's more of a symbolic sacrifice.
So, in my
Um,
second favorite piece of Transformers media, Transformers animated, like Optimus dies in the first fucking episode. So, whatever, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
but I don't think it's inherently a problem that Optimus Prime dies. I don't think it's necessarily handled super well, and it's just kind of messy and just kind of happens. Which, with the outset, the way the movie sets it up isn't super tight. It's just kind of loose. It feels like a thing that they had to do, so it's kind of written like a thing they had to do. But like the scene itself and all of the stuff that happens with him dying feels really good to me.
The battle with Optimus Prime and Megatron that everybody loves so much, I think it
Mhm.
looks fine. It's probably the best looking G1 stuff that they ever did, but it doesn't look all that goddamn. In fact, I think the movie's kind of mid on most of its animation in comparison to many other animated movies. It has moments that it's kind of pretty, but mostly it's a middling animated film.
Or inconsistent, I think is what we were saying earlier.
Oh, it's definitely inconsistent.
Rick
Yeah.
And
says, "Go ahead."
I was just gonna say there are errors in it that they didn't correct too.
Like what? What's one?
Specifically, like the scenes where EJ and Rewind jump out of Blaster and they just change colors mid frame. Like
Okay.
it's just terrible. Um, there's at the beginning of the movie when the animation's at its peak, that you see
Hmm.
Unicron heading towards Lithone, and his ring is in front of like it's in the wrong place. It's supposed to be behind something, and it's in front of it. There's just some layering problems that. But I mean, like
Oh,
that's just it. They were just like they're even
like
though
fuck it.
there's big money spent on this, and they did have a lot longer to make it than an average episode. It's still rushed into production like the TV shows were. It was not a thing of care. This was a thing of marketing.
Yeah, it kind of felt like the it was rushed, like again, because it felt like a different pieces of movies or episodes or things maybe put together.
It
Um,
was it was greenlit in late '84, and so
okay.
they're writing it at '85, and that's why you see characters that were in like late season one, '85 characters, and a few there's some references to in the artwork to like some '85 characters, but they don't actually make it into the movie. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was definitely done. They in late '84 they capitalized on the idea that they had a runaway hit with this Transformers thing, and they greenlit a movie, and they were like, we're going to greenlight this, and we don't understand our franchise, and it'll be fine that we just kill our main character because who could give a shit?
Right.
Kids love any new toy we bring out. but they didn't realize in the year and a half it took for the movie to come out from its being greenlit, kids, were developing a true
Got
fondness
attached. Yeah,
for this Optimus Prime character.
that's fun. That's kind of like, with Halloween. It was like it was supposed to be originally like a bunch of different stories, but we got all these. We got the first two, and then Halloween 3 came, and people just they didn't realize that people would get attached to Michael Myers like that. You know.
Well, I think specifically, if we want to take this into that Halloween tangent for just a moment, like
Uh
if they
huh.
made Halloween, if what Halloween 3 was just Halloween, like if Halloween 2 was just Halloween 3 and they never made a sequel to the original Halloween with Michael Myers, it would have been easier to swallow the idea that
Yeah.
Halloween was an anthology series.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I agree.
but
But yeah,
by making Michael Myers a sequel dude, yeah,
it
you
just happened to have two
yeah,
parts. The first
you
one.
now see well, you just now sealed the fate of what the franchise is supposed to be. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Well, even yeah, I find that interesting. Yeah, like that the people who made the thing don't know what they have at the time. And then conversely, you get movies, especially in horror movies, like where they try really hard to make a new like icon and it doesn't work. So it's just shows, you don't know what's going to land
like those
with people and what's
Terrifier
not.
movies, Jesus Christ!
And I still
But
think,
well, like Friday the 13th at the beginning, that was Jason's mom. There was never supposed to be Friday 13th Part 3. I don't think was you know originally ever going to happen, but it just Friday
That's the one where he
13th
gets
Part
the
2,
hockey mask.
right? And it just second one made so much damn money. You're like fuck, and people really like this Jason character.
And that's the thing. The Transformers, the movie, didn't make any money at box office. And I think ultimately, if you look at its entire run for the last 38 years, Hasbro probably made their money back on it. But
oh,
like
more
what
than
the lesson Hasbro has learned is like we only make money on these Transformers movies when they're big generic blockbusters made by brain dead morons like Michael Bay. Like when they're
Yeah.
well thought out animated features, they don't do well. Or when
oh, they
they're
were
when they're small little stories like Bumblebee, they only do kind of well. Or when they're like half well marketed movies like Rise of the Beast, they don't do well. So
well, those all have the context of like the previous movies and nostalgia being at different heights during those times as well. Like especially the Michael Bay movies. It's like it's the first big movie they've done since that movie, which was
right,
'86,
right.
and
Yeah, it was
it's
21
got
years between those two movies.
Michael Bay was a big director at the time too.
Yeah, nobody knows who he is now.
So, and they spent all kinds of money. It's the first time in quote unquote live action, That
Mhm.
was a big. It's a big deal, and
I don't want to get it. I don't want to get
slowly
ahead of
got miserable.
ourselves. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because I'm sure we'll talk about the Michael Bay films eventually.
Oh yeah,
But
Yeah, that
I
means we have
still
to
think
watch them again. And you excited? I'm
I'm
excited.
not. I'm
Yeah.
not.
I still believe that the CGI in the first 2007 Transformers movie still holds up beautifully. That movie looks amazing.
Yeah, I thought it did when we watched it not too long ago. I thought that it still looked good. It like yeah, okay, well yeah. I'm going to get into the whole thing on Michael Bay movies.
No, we don't have to
It's
do
a trap.
Yeah, it's trap.
the Transformers the movie will remain something I'll watch for the rest of my life. But like I don't want to make it more than it is. It's a very mediocre film,
Mhm.
and it's all nostalgia bait. So
Yeah, it means a lot to you and people, who grew up with it, but probably not objectively a good film. And it wasn't trying to be,
It's
really.
Oh, there is okay. We're
it's
gonna have a fight
it's
now.
a good
Ah!
You can't.
Transformers movie.
You say
Okay.
objectively good film one more time. We're gonna have a fight.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I take it back. Using that phrase, I take it back.
Oh.
I
You
completely
just
retract
have
it.
to look at it in its context a little bit, and like when you look at it in its context, it is literally the biggest scale up you could possibly have with a team of guys that were just working on a kids' TV show 2 years ago.
Yeah. It just,
So
yeah, it
like
definitely.
it's all over the place. They hadn't put a movie together before. They had, like a few, maybe a year previous to this, they had a bunch of Autobots like shaping together to turn into a throne so Big Daddy Optimus Prime could sit on them.
And
Like
I guess like
it's
we're
it
also
was a weird show.
we're talking about two different like teams of you're talking about the studio executives versus the people who actually made the movie and the show. Uh,
Yeah,
Well,
you
the
know what I mean?
it was
see the
probably
movie. Well, the
not
movie
a
and the
great
show
idea to do
are
the movie.
the movie and the show are all part of Sunbow, which is a Marvel offshoot. Hasbro smartly said, "We don't know how to market. We know that these toys that we found in Japan are neat, and we can probably sell them, but we don't really know how to market them. Let's turn to our pals at Sunbow and Jay Bacall, who can give us a fiction for us like they did with that GI Joe shit." And that's that's what makes Transformers memorable. Is it's not the box art, it's not the fucking bios that Bob Budiansky did. It might be the Marvel Comics, but it's most definitely this fucking 22-minute TV show that ran in everybody's houses for like 2 years in the afternoons. And and like yes, by extension, they do their greatest effort with the Transformers the movie. Like the original G1 run of Transformers will never be greater than when it does that. But it's also like that movie breaks the franchise. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what they were doing and they fucked up. And the one time the Sunbow assholes listened to Hasbro, that Hasbro's like, we got all this new product we're moving in. Kill off that Optimus Prime, Optimus, whatever the fuck you call it. Kill
Yeah,
that truck thing off
great
and
move.
move in this new truck that, yeah. And like these
This
assholes
new
listen to them on that
Winnebago.
because that's what kids like.
Yeah.
It's a Winnebago attached to a sports car. A muscle
But there
car.
is so there
Neat.
is a piece of there's a piece of fiction that I want told as a G1 fan that I haven't got yet, which is the interim years between 1985 and 2005 when the movie's set. I want to see those animated in cartoon form.
Yeah.
I want to see my
Okay.
favorite
Yeah.
characters plus new characters. I want to see them update their car forms to like 90s cars, whatever, but that's what I want to see.
Oh yeah, because
And
I don't think.
it's still sitting there. They haven't done it.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned that at the very beginning that this does. I mean, I'm sure anyone listening to this already knows, but it takes place in the far off year of 2005.
Right, which is about to be 20 years ago dear. So
Yeah, that was a little detail Forrest pointed out earlier, and I was like, oh, I'll be damned.
Oh, just punch us all in the taint with that info.
but I mean, like, of course they would say, like, they said it 20 years in the future because 2005 sounded futuristic, but also
Mm-hmm.
they were like, in 20 years nobody's going to remember this nobody's going to call us
I was
out
gonna give a shit.
who's going to give a fuck. We'll just say 20 years because it's the future and that's good enough. And then
Yeah.
the fans lived long enough to see it, and then they were like, well, now what do we
Shit. All right. Well, I think we have to wrap it up for
for all
the
our fans that are
schedule.
listening, for all our fans that are listening to us out there on this podcast, I want you to know, like, go ahead, go buy that
40th anniversary.
4K. Go get that 40th anniversary 4K version of the Transformers the movie, and then don't open it and just buy Transformers 1 and watch that instead.
Buy Transformers 1 Blu-ray.
Yeah, I got a pretty good version of it that I watched earlier. But anyway, yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything anybody else? You guys?
The Transformers the movie, one of many films from the 80s, that's way better than it got in the box office. Just one of many.
Yeah, and maybe
The Thing, $50 million. Box office, 12. It's okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Do we have like a closer thing?
You got
remember-
touch.
Remember to transform and roll out.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?